Welcome to Silicon Valley Nonprofits, a service of KMVT Community Media. I'm Bev Lenahan, your host. Today our special guest is Elaine Guarneri-Nunn. She's the San Francisco Bay Area Director with Facing History and Ourselves. Thank you, Elaine, for being with us today.
Thank you, Beverly. It's lovely to be here.
Certainly, Facing History and Ourselves is an intriguing name, so I'm curious to know how that relates to your mission. What is it that you do?
We believe that by looking at the lessons and complexities of history, that students, mainly students, can make better choices for the future. So it's an interesting dialogue between ourselves and history. We're an international professional development organization. We started in 1976, and we work with teachers across the world to provide them teacher training resources and strategies to help their students feel that they can make a positive change on society.
So that must be a challenge working with so many different kinds of educators. So how do your programs actually help the educators around the world?
So we provide curricular resources, content resources on a variety of historical topics, and we provide teacher training. So our approach is we challenge students to make connections between the past and the present, between others and themselves. We have what we call a teacher or a student journey that begins by looking at themselves. So we begin all our coursework and all our curricular topics by looking at issues of identity. We look at the power of labels. We look at the groups that students are in. We then look at how our community or our neighborhood can be divided into we and they. We then move to a case study, and we look at a variety of case studies. We look at complex moments in history, whether it was the steps that led to the Holocaust in Nazi Germany, the Armenian genocide, looking at the role of race in the United States or the American civil rights movement. And then we begin to look at history through the lens of human behavior.
Well, I think that must be terribly complex and revealing as students around the world begin to look at these things. It's become so personal and yet so global in its lessons, right?
Absolutely.
For sure. So I'm sure you've had to figure out how well the program works. So give us a couple of examples of how it works and how you know it's working.
So Facing History has been concerned with the program effectiveness since the beginning.
Good.
We have over 100 external and internal evaluations that have looked at Facing History and have cited it and validated as a best practice in increasing character education, civic education, Holocaust education, and social emotional learning. And so our studies have shown that teachers feel more effective to create these safe spaces to have these difficult conversations, and that students themselves are now able to see each other in a more equal frame, that there has been a decrease in bullying and an increase in tolerance of others.
Good. And that's probably getting reflected through our technology today and hopefully some of the online sites. So I know you recently had a hackathon, which is always fun. This is something that young people are doing around the world, I know. So tell us about the hackathon and how that fits into your program.
Sure. Well, one of the final areas of Facing History throughout all our case studies is a unit we call Choosing to Participate. And so we challenge students to think about how they can be what we call upstanders, people who stand up to injustice. So we took that idea and we said, we're here in the Bay Area, in the heart of innovation. What would it look like if we asked students to think about how technology could be used for social good, for social justice? So we actually brought a number of students from diverse communities in the Bay Area and asked them to get into groups and think about innovative ways that they could use technology to strengthen community and society. And it was amazing what they came up with. I
have no doubt about it. Can you give us a couple of examples of applications?
Sure.
things that they worked on?
Sure. So one of the areas we looked at was historical legacy and how do you remember histories. So one group of students from Oakland created holograms. So in the future, as you're walking down through communities, holograms would appear via your iPhone, your smartphone, and you could actually learn about what happened at that particular street corner. We also had another group of students who came together and who were thinking about how they could increase empathy in our community, and they thought about billboards throughout the Bay Area that could show different areas of the Bay Area to each other to increase, to really feel what it's like to live in another community.
Sure, and what's happening, it really is a little history lesson right there.
Exactly.
And something that can get preserved too.
Exactly.
These things don't go away all that easily, do they? So can you think of a student that comes to mind where you really saw a change in that student after coming through the program?
Well, it's interesting. So you can see Facing History in so many different ways.
Yes.
You can see Facing History in history classes or English language classes. We have a number of schools in the nation and here in the Bay Area that have Facing History deep within its core. So if you walk into a classroom, you will see students engage in history beyond facts and dates. They will be looking at individual choices that people made. So whether it's a choice of a man in the 1930s who had to make a decision whether he pledged allegiance to the Nazi Party, and then the choices, the ramifications, or whether it's looking at a choice that someone made when Central High was integrated during the Civil Rights Movement. Students are really wrestling with choices and decisions that people made in the past, and that they're having a dialogue about what that means for the impact of choice in their own life.
Especially understanding the circumstances. We can't get the whole story in the history books, so we need context. I know in some of the local schools they've used the veterans as a wonderful community builder with the students to help eke out these stories, not only for the veterans but also for the students and what their history has been about. It's very fascinating.
It's very powerful. I mean, a part of Facing History, when teachers go through a Facing History face-to-face workshop or an online class, as part of our program, we have follow-up. And so our program staff work with teachers in their schools throughout the Bay Area to help support them implement the program. And part of that is actually bringing speakers to their classroom, whether it's a survivor of the Holocaust or whether it's a person from a Japanese American internment or whether it's another speaker, just an ordinary individual who stood up to injustice. That's very powerful to bring history right into the classroom.
Absolutely, for sure. Well, I imagine that hackathon was so successful, you're going to do it again.
We are. We are. We piloted for the organization, and we are hoping to have another one this fall. And it really brings technology and civic participation together. And it's actually going to be a wonderful lead up because Facing History is celebrating its 40th year.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. And as part of our 40th anniversary celebration, we're having an online global conversation November 13th and 14th. We invite everybody, teachers, students, and community members to play a Face the Future game, which looks at the history and the future of empathy. And so this is an opportunity. So I think the students who come through the Civic Hackathon will be really well prepared to have that conversation.
And global, that's no small matter to set that up.
Well, Facing History right now reaches 4.8 million students in 134 countries.
Very good. Well, that's quite a story in itself as to how that spread and how now you're at 40 years. And there's still many things to explore, aren't there?
Exactly.
That's for sure. What other things are in your future are you developing?
Well, we've just released a new resource for teachers that really brings current events and social media together. It's called Facing Ferguson, News Literacy in the Digital Age, and it is co-created by the News Literacy Project, and it looks at the shooting of Michael Brown 2 years ago, and through the lens of the impact of the media on news and how the media can influence our views of people. And it really uses the lens of race and community. So that's an exciting resource that we have, and it's being met with a tremendous demand from teachers.
I can imagine. You must have a tremendous number of excellent researchers who are putting these curricula together.
We do. Our headquarters are in Boston, in Brookline, Massachusetts, and we're an organization of about 180 employees, and we have many regions across the United States.
And here you are in the Bay Area region, and lots of fodder and lots of technology to bring together to continue to spread the program.
Amazing, yes.
So tell me about your funding. How does that work for you?
We are privately funded. We are funded primarily by individuals and corporations and foundations. Every region has a group of local advisory board members that help us be ambassadors to spread the word and to seek other additional sources of funding.
That makes a lot of sense. It takes a lot when you're putting together a curriculum like that, and for a worldwide effort. So congratulations, especially on your 40th anniversary, and we wish you all good fortune going forward, and I'll look forward to seeing that second hackathon.
Great. Thank you, Beverly. It was a pleasure being here.
Nice to have you here today. Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you.